What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Elevated Perspectives Podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and today I'll be sitting down with Nubia Younge. She is the CEO and founder of Black in Tulum. We're going to talk about the rise of Black in Tulum, how she got started, her journey as a Gen Xer, and how she inspires other Gen Xers and women of color to get out there and travel more. So stay tuned.
Well, welcome to Tulum.
Thank you. Thank you. So you currently live in Playa del Carmen.
I do.
And you've been living nomadically for about 5 years. I just want to get the facts straight for people
Going
who
on
may
six,
not.
yeah. I've been living abroad going on 6 years. 4 of those 6 have been spent in Mexico.
Okay.
The other, actually, I'm going on 7 because 2.5 years were in Thailand. And then I had some time in Germany and in Colombia.
Wow. So you've been all over. I also noticed you've lived on 4 continents and
Yes.
visited over 44 countries.
Now at 51.
51. It changes year after year, of course.
Yes.
So I definitely want to touch on that. But today you're also an expat coach, a motivational speaker,
Yes.
a podcast host, or
Was.
former, and of course CEO of Black in Tulum and Black in Travel. So tell us what Black in Travel is to you and like what inspired the creation of Black in Travel.
So, Black in Travel is the evolution of Black in Tulum. So, when I began Black in Tulum, I didn't know that it would turn into this
Mm,
huge Black travel movement in Mexico.
right.
And it's been an amazing 3 years. We just stopped our 3 year anniversary week, and it was just time for that, what I like to call the level up.
Mm,
So Black and Travel made sense. And we have 150,000 travel groups, businesses, pages, everything else. I just really wanted to do something encompassing of just travel and not putting a geographical term on it.
got it. Got it. So making it more of a worldwide community to
Correct.
open it up to multiple doors. I love that. I love that. And as you've been on this journey, I noticed another interview that you did, or maybe it was a write up, but you wanted to really empower Gen X, women of color, to have some representation in that space.
Absolutely, because representation matters. And, I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah.
And I just feel like as a Gen Xer, we're considered like a lost art. We're the ones that are supposed to be married, supposed to be taking care of our kids, supposed to be doing all these things,
Hmm.
and not really put ourselves as a priority and take care of us. It's always an aging parent, a partner, kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when does it become about you and what makes you happy, what fuels your fire?
Hmm.
So, what a lot of people didn't know is that I started Black in Tulum at 40. I was over 40
Wow.
actually. And yeah, I'm 45 now, currently during this interview.
Yeah.
And we just had our 3 year, so I started at 42. And I hear people all the time that's like, oh, I wish I would have done, moved earlier.
Hmm.
I wish. And I'm like, no,
Yeah, it's not too late.
it's never too late. So I really love to speak to the Gen X community. The millennials, y'all are killing it. Y'all came through the door out the womb. Like, can I get 6 figures, please?
Well, you all paved the way for us to do that. I think
Yes.
a lot of times people like to look at life as a clock, and what I see Gen X people typically do back home is like they're trying to wrap up their career or solidify their spot, moving up that corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Like you said, taking care of family. So I think it's incredible to see people still starting projects at that age, still moving abroad. So we're living in an age where you can stay in touch with family, with friends. Everybody's connected, and it makes building community a whole lot, I would think, a little bit easier
And
in
more
a sense.
important at that, right?
Hmm.
Because one thing that when I speak to a lot of my guests, the first thing they say is, oh, the Facebook group has been amazing.
Hmm.
And I'm like, my next question is, has it been resourceful for you?
Hmm.
And they're just like, oh my gosh, I did my whole itinerary.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what building a community. It's not just about Black and Tulum.
Yeah.
That's what building a community is about, is offering resources.
Resources.
It's not about making yourself the priority. It's
Hmm.
about really creating a platform where others can shine.
Right. And I think that for me, one of the reasons I lived in Guadalajara last year, me and the whole family, And it was not a number one destination for expats and digital nomads in Mexico. There's Mexico City, there's Playa del Carmen, Merida. So we checked out all those areas first, but what brought us to Guadalajara was the Facebook group. Everybody was so connected and intentional about their monthly meetups, plenty of kids for our kids to interact with.
Nice.
So that literally changed our whole experience. After about a year, we got bored.
Yeah.
But for me, I couldn't imagine a better jumping off place.
And that's what resources. I mean, sharing is caring, and that has always been what's important to me. I feel like I've always been a repository, right, of information, and I'm not going to gatekeep it. So when I started Black in Tulum, it wasn't a website. It wasn't a paid anything.
Right.
It was just a Facebook group. And when I started, it was 25 of us. And I started the Facebook group at the beach zone after a brunch that we had just had. And people were like, we need to stay in touch. And I'm like, you know, when you're abroad, WhatsApp is like the thing.
The thing, yep.
But you can get lost in the threads.
Right.
So I was like, let me create a Facebook group. That group went from 25. We are now at over 25,000.
It's crazy, 25,000 people. And you said you did not expect it to take the direction that it did.
Yes.
What were you thinking that Black in Tulum would be? Was it just the resources and Facebook? Like, where did the party aspect and nightlife come from?
So my background is hospitality management.
Okay.
So my first event was a brunch. And it was a brunch because I would see a sprinkle of people of color.
Yeah.
And I would be like, yo, let's get together. Yeah. And one thing that we do well is break bread. So I put together a brunch on the beach, and 25 people showed up. Actually, my first ever brunch was 8 people, but I never really count that. But, you know, the 20, so I was already putting together small, you know, meetups, I'll say.
Right.
I won't call them events. They were meetups. But then they started growing. And then like the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth were like 50, 60 people. And I'm like, where are all these people coming from? Like, were they hiding behind
people
a
want to
tree?
bring their cousins, their friends, they tell people about it.
And that's why we started calling each other cousins. And they'd be like, hey, fam. Hey, cuz. So it just became a fam. And that's how they greet each other in the group chats and stuff like that. And my group is, what's up, cousins? I'm coming in. And people I've noticed really do jump in and help out and be like, oh, here's a link to, I stayed here. Don't go here, you know, this and the other. But to jump back on what you're saying, the events just started. It just got bigger and bigger the more people that came. And then they started going, so what's up? Where is to go tonight? And then I was thinking about it. Maybe we need to do nighttime events.
That's amazing.
Yeah, give them what they want.
Let it grow naturally. And I think it's what was needed in this area. And, you know, we could talk about Tulum a lot, but I really want to start on your journey, your story. So where are you from, and what inspired you to make your first move abroad?
Well, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, Beantown. But I left Boston about 25 years ago, so I usually rep the DMV. So I raised my kids in Virginia, Fairfax, and when I was 37, I got laid off. At my corporate meeting job. I was a corporate meeting planner, and I felt like I was on this, you know, work trajectory. Come back from Christmas vacation on top of that. And they're like, oh, you know, we're going to go in another direction. And I was furious because I was like, how, you guys know I'm a single mother. I have 2 kids at home. I just came back from Portugal.
Right.
I'm like, why are y'all doing this to me?
Right.
You get what I mean? It felt very, very personal. And then I swore off at that moment. I said, I'm never allowing corporate America to define my worth based on my title and my salary.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And I think that we live our whole lives not even realizing it. I think a lot of us think the 9-to-5 world is the safest option for us. But when they can make a decision just like that, or you're at the mercy of being hired, because a lot of times in your situation, people will want to look for that same title and that same base salary, right? You don't want to go backwards. And that could be a lot harder to find.
Yeah. So after getting laid off, it propelled me to say there has to be something else out here. Luckily, I had already linked up with another travel group, and I was doing small trips with them, and I was just enjoying travel. And I said, you know what? And I'm not recommending that everybody do, I was
Right.
very radical in my moving. I was like, I'm off this,
Me too.
I'm done. There was like no real planning. I didn't
Yeah.
have, I'm one of
Yeah.
those that would throw a dart at a map, and wherever it lands, I'm going, Um, so I took out my 401k. I said, it's my money. And I was furious with that because they take like 36%.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, how are you taking so much money out of my money that I put here for y'all to
Because you didn't
hold?
follow the plan.
Listen.
The designated plan.
On my way out the door, America was showing me all of their ass to kiss. Excuse my language.
Yeah. No, you can cuss a little.
Okay. Yes. And I was like, oh, this is where I got to go. I
Yeah.
got to go.
Yeah. That's amazing. By that time, were your kids grown at that time, or like how did they?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what's grown to you?
I guess 16 and up.
Oh, yeah. So
Okay.
my oldest, I had just got off to college.
Okay.
And the youngest was still in high school. He was a junior, if I'm not mistaken, at the time.
Gotcha.
And so I just sent him to go live with dad. I mean, listen, I was trolled for a while for leaving the kids. And I'm just like, first of all, back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, shit, 20s, 60s, 70s, all that, people would leave their kids with their grandparents for decades.
Yeah, I grew up, I'm Caribbean, West Indian, and my mom was born in New York, my dad was born in the islands, but it was very common to say, hey, we're going to work here and send you to live, in the Caribbean for the summer, for a year, for 2 years. So
Correct.
extremely common to chase that goal, that opportunity. But I think a lot of times people don't like when you're just living.
But that's the thing, is like, if I can't send him to his father, where am I supposed to send him? That is, you know what I mean? That is his father. I'm just like, but when it was evident that I wasn't a part of that equation. My mental health wasn't a part of that equation.
Yeah.
My physical, financial, and and mental stability wasn't in that equation. It was just me as a mother that people see me as, and not as an individual.
Across the board, moms have a lot of pressure on them to be the caregivers their whole life, right? So I can see that. So where were you off to that first trip?
I went to Southeast Asia, to Thailand, only because you would see video on top of video on YouTube of these young white millennials with $5 in their pocket. And I had a lot more than $5. So I said, oh, if they can do it, I can too. And that's how my podcasting began, because I realized that when I was searching for this information around expat life, I could not find anyone that looked like me. Not my color, not, my age group, not anything. I could not relate to any of these YouTubers. So when I was talking to a good friend of mine about, just kind of unloading, like, yo, here we are over 30, going into our 40s, and nobody looks like us, and da-da-da-da. She's 36 at the time, and she was also, in Thailand, and she had a son that she just got off to college. So we had a lot in common. And we said, we need to talk about this.
Absolutely.
We need to share these stories, chronicle our journeys, and that's how Chronicles Abroad came to be.
And what's crazy is it's still similar today. You get on YouTube and you want to find out what it's like to live in Colombia, what it's like to live in Mexico, and for the most part, you're still not seeing a whole lot of Black representation. And for us, it's family representation, right? You can do it as a solo traveler with your significant other, but what about the kids, So I like to highlight that, during our content specifically. So while you're in Southeast Asia, I'm sure that had to be a lot of culture shock.
Listen, y'all be surprised. Thais are like our cousins.
Wow. So that's my thing, is like the language. I'm like, how are y'all communicating?
Listen,
so different?
a smile is a universal representation of hello, and Thailand is the land of smiles. You can talk with your eyes, right?
Yeah.
You can share so many different, but people don't understand is also in Thai, the words to say like hello and the masculine, like to learn just a couple of phrases shows so much respect to them. I had lived in Thailand for, like I said, two years plus, and I don't speak Thai,
Yeah.
but I can say I can welcome you and greet you. I can, I can say goodbye and do just simple things, and they love that.
Hmm.
I even learned how to say "How are you?" You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But my point to all that is don't allow that to hinder you, right? Because these are fears that you don't even realize
Hmm.
are suppressing you.
And that's the next point I wanted to talk about is so many people get stuck on the planning stage,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one of the reasons we started this podcast is to really give information to people who are wondering and give representation to people who are hesitant or thinking about it or planning on it in the next 30 days or so. But people get stuck on planning and they never actually take the leap to move abroad. What would you think? Something that you could tell listeners, to stop procrastinating and just do it.
Well, it's a double-edged sword when you say that because some people need to research thoroughly.
Yeah.
Others, like I said, like myself, I'm a thrill seeker. I'm a risk taker. And I didn't have any other responsibilities but myself to go out there, and I have that trust that I can do it.
Yeah.
Because I had already traveled.
Yeah.
If you're not that kind of person, I would, say, do your research to where it makes you feel comfortable.
True.
Just don't get analysis paralysis. But this is where, my coaching started coming in extremely handy because there are people that are on information overload and they feel like I just need some help
Yeah.
to guide my way through.
Yeah.
And that's how I created the Novice to Nomad, because I know what it felt for me. So I wanted to provide a resource to women to help them take that step a lot easier, and with the arms back and the neck up,
Yeah.
and feeling like with confidence.
With confidence. Because I think, if you're hesitant about this, you may find one bad review. It's like when you're looking at a restaurant. You find one bad review that talks you out of months of planning.
Correct.
So Novice to Nomad, we'll make sure we link that in our description at the end of the episode. So do people sign up for consultations with you and then move from there? And do you help them guide them on different cities, or do you focus on specific cities or countries?
So we had originally launched Novice to Nomad in early 2020.
Okay.
Right when, no, 2019, sorry, 2019.
So right before the
and
pandemic.
then right before the pandemic. And so this is the level up or the revamp of it, but it's going to be more like a membership. So that way the members can talk to each other. You can connect, because it can't just be me, right? We need to rely on community. That's what the whole point is, building a platform where community can get together. My work in this is to hold weekly one-on-one, not one-on-ones, but group chats where we can speak. So if they have advanced questions, I can be there to assist those questions, and they have access to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's so beautiful to see one person's questions go into oh yeah, me too, I was thinking the same thing.
I love that.
But nobody speaks up, and it's like,
Yeah.
let's talk.
Yeah. I love that, because resources like where to rent a car, what school are you sending your kid to, co-working spaces, accommodations, because it's different city to city, country to country. So I love that. And also helping others who have already been to that country,
Yes.
been living there, thriving there. So that's amazing. So we'll get back on track. So you were in Southeast Asia. Were you popping around to different countries, returning home? What did that look like for you?
So I went to Bangkok first, busy,
Okay.
and then I set my eyes on Chiang Mai because of the Lantern Festival. Anybody who knows, the lunar calendar, and in the fall they have these beautiful floating, you call them kind of like paper lamps in the sky. So I thought that was a great way to transition my life to the next level, was to let go of some things, to put some things into the universe that I wanted, and to start manifesting. And so Chiang Mai, I fell in love.
I love that.
And
I've heard great things about Chiang
fell
Mai.
in love and found a whole Black community there.
I want to go so bad. Me and my wife, we're going to book those one-way flights and get over there.
Please do. There's an amazing community. We actually created dinners every Sunday, with a group called the Black Packers. And nobody knew who they were. And then I landed in Thailand, and I was like, I mean, the first I got to the hostel and it was two black girls from DC. That's it. Hey,
Yes,
sis.
I love that.
So you're never
Yeah,
alone.
yeah. Because when you land and you see black people, it's instantly what's up, and then you'll see where they're from, find out their
Yeah.
stories. Even us finding this little space right here was amazing.
Black owned co working
So
space.
building community was always important to you as a solo traveler.
Building community has always been important to me as a woman
Yeah,
and a mom.
yeah,
You get what I mean?
yeah.
It just became that much more important as a traveler, because usually people travel within their friend group or travel group, and then that's where they stay. It's like their safe bubble. But how much did you really learn about that country or that city or that place that you went to if you stay in a bubble?
Yeah.
You got to kind of get out and kind of break out and explore. And the best in my opinion, the best exploration happens sometimes when you're by yourself because you don't really have anybody, tapping you on the back like, "Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm hot. I'm hungry." It's just
So,
you.
so when it comes to collaborating and building community with the local culture, so what was that like in Thailand and even here in Mexico? Like, are you also building that community with local establishments, businesses?
Yes, I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of
Hmm.
businesses. It's funny because in Thailand, I didn't have a lot of Thai friends, and it's because you don't bring people that look like me home.
Got you.
So
So,
culturally, even though they'll, not, I don't want to use the word tolerate you, they'll embrace you.
mhm.
It's just culturally and traditionally, you
Yeah,
don't date,
yeah,
a person outside of the race unless they're white European.
yeah. So they keep their culture a little bit, especially from black
It's more
and
the
brown.
ancestors, like older
Yeah,
people, you know what I mean? So the people my age at the time,
yeah.
40, didn't have a lot of black friends.
What about colorism out there? I mean, I know
Asia
it's,
definitely has
yeah,
colorism.
that's what I've been
Oh,
thinking.
oh,
Like, I know they
absolutely.
have a bit of a, not a caste system per se, but, the darker skinned Asian people and just black people in general are looked down upon, maybe doing more labor work versus lighter skinned people. So you did experience, so yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
However, as an American, you'd be surprised you have that American privilege,
Hmm.
right? So they would see me immediately believe that I came from Africa
Hmm.
and I've been called, they think they're calling me a name. They're like, Congo or, Africa.
Hmm.
And you're like, are you trying to say something?
Yeah,
Like what?
yeah.
But the moment I open my mouth, and even if I said something simple as okay, they're like, American? And I'm like, yeah. They're like,
Yeah,
America.
because you got that blue passport and that money.
Exactly. So
So,
they changed their tune. But I've also
yeah.
had colorism happen in Africa.
Man, and like that's one thing we have experienced in Spain and Europe, different parts of Europe, because they're thinking you're coming from Africa, or even in Latin America, once they think you're from Haiti, the Dominican Republic, right? But as soon as they hear that accent, they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, embrace you, come on in."
Come on.
And so I think for us as Black travelers, we have a unique experience with. I think what's popular now is are we gentrifying an area as we're coming in with our American USD, but also we have to deal with discrimination and anti-blackness everywhere that we go.
Yeah, that's the sad part about life,
It
right?
is.
It's not just, I tell people all the time, travel is transformative. And I'm so proud of you guys for taking your kids and traveling with them because to me, that is the greatest gift that you can pass down to your
Thank you.
children.
Thank you.
So kudos to you. Gentrification in general, and that has happened here in Tulum.
Hmm.
When I first landed here, it was nothing but jungle. There was some construction, and there were no Afro parties, is what they like to call them. And when I started hosting events and hosting parties, and more people started flocking, Tulum became the number one travel destination 3 years in a row.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And like it used to be, but from what I read, is it was kind of off the beaten path. And it was, I think Tulum was centered in a magazine piece as having some of the best beaches in the world. And that's when the tourists came.
Well, it was leaked that DiCaprio comes here for his vacations.
Yeah, of course, paparazzi caught some
Yes.
pictures.
And then
Yeah.
also for the people of color, when Black in Tulum started, it was right after Nipsey's death. So when Nipsey did the victory lap and he talked about being at the Mayan, remember
Oh,
smoking a
yeah.
cigar on the
Yeah.
Mayan? Yeah. And he says Tulum in his song.
Yeah.
So people, Black people, where's this Tulum thing? And then you find a group called Black in Tulum, and then it's like, oh, there's Black people there?
Right.
And then we're showcasing, us on the beach chilling. So it just made people feel more comfortable. I was hosting lives and giving people information because nobody knew that you could travel. Because I started the group in 2020.
Yeah.
We had nowhere to go,
So
they were telling you.
out of your travels, right? So you were in Southeast Asia. I know you spent some time in Europe as well. Africa? What countries in Africa?
Currently, I've only spent time in South Africa, Johannesburg, Cape Town.
It was beautiful.
Actually, yes, I'm actually going back. I went last year, and I'm going back this year, and it's going to be a second home.
Nice.
That's how much I love it.
Nice. And so out of that, like what landed you in Mexico? I know the pandemic was coming around the time that you got here, or you got here before the
I got
pandemic?
here before the pandemic, and when I got to Mexico, I moved to Mexico City.
Tell us about that experience.
Mexico City is amazing. Have you been?
I have. We spent only a week because we were in Guadalajara. We kept meaning to go over there. We only got to go for like 1 week, and I got sick. But I know the food was amazing. It's a huge city, bustling, so much to do for the kids. What I didn't love was the pollution.
Of course,
But
it's a major city.
But it was amazing. I mean, you can't touch all of Mexico City in 1 week. So, how about your experience there?
It was just like you said. It was amazing. The food culture, the museums, the parks.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Mexico City. And then September rolls around and October, and I was like, wait, it's cold.
Oh yes.
Oh, I was like, I got to go.
Because we don't start on this journey to be cold. Like, let me tell you, I grew up in Toronto, made my way to Atlanta, and once I got to Atlanta, I'm like, I would never live back in Canada ever again.
Right.
And then you go to Mexico, and it's just like, well, Atlanta's too cold in the winter too, so I stayed gone in the winter. So then
We're
back
not
to
about that life
No.
anymore. So when it started getting cold, I was like, I got to go.
Yeah. So then you heard about Tulum or the Riviera Maya.
Actually, I came to Playa because there was a small community of travelers that I knew from, the Facebook's pages and my travel groups. And so I came to just link up with them. And I got tired of Playa very quickly. It was touristy.
Yep.
And I was just like, I need some peace somewhere I can go. And that's when I came to Tulum.
Wow. What year was that?
This was, what year are we in?
We're in 2023. I forget what day it is half the time.
And that's another thing people need to realize when you're a nomad, if you don't have a 9 to 5, you lose your days.
Yes.
Because it just kind of, it's like, what month are we in? And then you stop worrying about that and you're like, what year are we in? I'm at the what year are we in phase.
Look, and when I go back home, it's so funny because I think that everyone is living kind of like me a little bit. And I get back and it's like, no, people are living a whole different lifestyle, stressed.
Absolutely stressed. But to answer your question, I came in 2019.
Okay.
Yes.
And so it was jungle back then, I'm sure. And I'm sure they had a few, like Koba Ave was here, one direct road to the beach.
It was like straight up different.
Yeah.
I can't really explain it, but even I can't explain it. If now to me, it's almost like when I came here, it was a village. Now it's a town.
Town, yeah.
Come back in 2 years, it's going to be a city.
A city, exactly.
That's how I can explain it.
What made you fall in love with Tulum? I guess Tulum and Playa, I know you got tired of pretty quickly, but what made you fall in love with Tulum, going from a big city like Mexico City to here?
It was different. It was peaceful. It was riding your bike to the beach. It was very much that small, quaint town that had great tacos and beautiful cenotes.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have over like 7,000 cenotes, so you can, and none of them are ever alike. So being here in Tulum before it became the hottest destination, it still is, but it was a magical place. It's a vortex.
Yeah.
And there's so much to experience. It's so much more to experience than what people see on Instagram and TikTok. Like, that's just scratches the surface.
Yeah, I know the first time we came was 2021, so I think travel had just started to open up a little bit. And we got here, me and my wife. First, we went to Playa. I talked about Merida a little bit too, but Tulum was magical. My skin was glowy, my teeth were whiter being here, and like you said, we were going to cenotes, cooking classes, different experiences, riding our bikes to the beach. But I know that for us, we did miss that city aspect a little
Yeah.
bit. Do you ever get away and just say, "Hey, I need more infrastructure," or do you feel like you're getting
Well,
that
that's
here?
why I landed in Playa afterwards,
Mm,
because even though something as like this interview,
yeah.
the electricity can go out like this.
Hmm. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, but
Yeah.
Tulum is unstable.
Yeah.
So I would have, Zoom meetings, and I would be like, hello, you guys are all stuck. And then next thing you know, it's just, and I was like, I can't.
Hmm.
And that's what brought me to Playa,
Okay.
is I understood that I needed a better infrastructure.
Okay. Gotcha. So let's talk about Black and Travel and Black and Tulum a little bit more. So when you did start the business, was it just you? Did you have any like team
It's
helping
been me
you?
well,
'Cause-
I didn't have teams such as like employees. I had people who were volunteering and helping. Like, oh my God, this is great. If you need
yeah.
anything, let me know. And I had to learn to start asking for help,
Yes.
because a lot of people feel that that's my baby. I gotta do this. Nobody's gonna do it like me, and that all could be true. But it does take a village to foster and to nurture and to help just blossom.
Yeah, I can see that. I know when we reached out to you for the interview, you're like, "Yeah, have my assistant scheduled." I'm like, "Okay, assistant." I know that feels good. I
I
know that
mean, I
feels
have
good.
over 12 employees now,
That's
and
amazing.
not helpers, like employees
Yeah.
paying salary, and that is very scary, right? Because you have to make sure that you're able to deliver to pay these people month to month.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm in the beginning stages. We're doing a lot of content creation, right? And so we've tried outsourcing to folks on Fiverr, kind of people that you don't know too well. Do you feel like you are working more along the lines with people that you have met, or are you saying, "Hey, who's best for the job to get this done?"
I had invested and hired a business coach for myself, because I know that my mind works at 150 miles a minute.
Yeah.
And when I tried to do it alone, I was hiring from the bottom up, which meant that if I'm hiring an assistant, not like, I don't know, somebody to handle the emails, I had to onboard them. I had to do all these things, and I didn't have the time. And
Yeah.
then I'm just like, here, do it. Like, not,
Yeah.
and I wasn't being the leader that I needed to be. But when I hired somebody to help me, like, clear the fog and say, hi Rocky, CEO, general manager, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Broke it down,
Yeah.
and we made position descriptions, and we did all of these things.
Yeah.
And then we started hiring executive level and brought it
So kind of
down.
like how to structure a business one
Correct.
on one. That's great. So do you consider them a mentor in their space, or is it like, hey, this is a working relationship
It
that I
was a
have?
working relationship.
Okay.
I'm paying you per month to help me complete these goals that my company needed to be
It's really
completed.
cool.
And I think that's the thing about it, is it's so scary to bank on yourself,
It is.
especially when you're putting down money,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know if you're going to make that back, or if you can substantiate, right? Paying this amount monthly. So it was very important to me to believe that whatever I'm putting into my business is going to come back tenfold.
How did that inspiration come about internally? Because you've started other projects before, you've started other Facebook groups, communities before. What was it about this that said, I'm betting 100% on myself?
I mean, the community literally came out. I mean, I would sit at my events
Mm-hmm.
and be in a corner and be like, there are 300 Black people from all over the
So
world
you're
here.
seeing it come to fruition as
Correct.
you are working on it. Okay.
I cried the first year of
Yeah.
Black in Tulum, like almost every event, like, wow. There was never a day where I didn't pack a house since I started. So, and then people started talking about it, and then celebrities started showing up, athletes started showing up,
Yeah.
high level influencers started showing up, and I was just like, people are talking. You get what I mean? And I'm listening. Like, what do you need? How can we assist you? So then we created Black Card Elite, which actually is our concierge business. Because you got
Okay.
all these people come in and they were asking questions in a Facebook group like, what airport do I fly into? I was like, well, if y'all got to go all the way back to the basics, we might as
Yeah.
well just put this in a little
Yeah.
wrap bun
You'll
for
be
you.
amazed at the questions you get online.
But you
And,
listen to,
but,
if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, listen to your audience.
yep. Yep. That's why we started a podcast. Because, people are asking us, hey, how do you go about doing this? How do you go about doing that? What do you do for work? And I'm like, hey, there's no one way to do this, right? So let's tell other people's stories to bring them in and say, hey, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to listen to Nubia. If you are, a cook, a chef, a hairdresser, like there are so many ways to sustain yourself abroad.
Absolutely.
What were you doing in the early years? I know you had just gotten laid off.
Yes. So when I got laid off, I came into Thailand
Yeah.
with my little pimp step, like I'm retired. I lived the retiree life for
Uh-huh.
almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at that bank account like, wait, I forgot that nothing's coming in.
No. Mm-hmm. And it goes quick.
And it goes quick.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing something I never thought I would ever do, and that is teach English abroad.
Which back then was lucrative. It was nice.
It was what you made it, right? Because there
Okay.
was so many companies. If you were like a really great teacher, you can make, I don't know, 1,500 a month.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, you're gonna be like, what? 1,500 a month? I make 1,500, a day, a week, whatever. But when you're living in Asia and your studio apartment is $325 and it comes with electricity and a housekeeper, like your actual bills plus groceries are $500 a month, then 1,500 a month is excellent.
It's what you need. Yeah.
It's all-
I
it's all
love
you
that. Were
need.
you a good teacher?
I was, because I'm a mom. So
Yeah.
I had this whole little desk set up, and with my little ABCs, I went to, you go to the dollar store and pick up crafts.
Yeah.
So I went to the Thai dollar store and picked up all these, crafts, and I had this beautiful backdrop. And it's funny this is another thing with everything that I started doing, people were asking me all the time about it. So then I created remote side hustles. And that was me helping people learn English, teach English, learn how to teach English abroad and get their TEFL certifications and all of that.
Yeah.
So that was another little income that I was bringing in
Right.
on top of the VIP kit. That's what I was working for.
And I think this lifestyle really inspires you to get creative.
You have
You
to.
have to, because you want to free up your time, not be attached to that 9 to 5, or find the right 9 to 5. And that's kind of the position that me and my wife have been in
Yeah.
for the past few months. So as far as getting creative and building that community, I know you had one friend who was already living in Thailand.
She was in a program for TEFL.
Okay, so that's kind of how y'all kind of worked alongside.
At that time, no.
Okay.
I just knew her from the Washington D.C. area.
Got it.
But I'm just saying, like, we were out there making do with what we had and what we wanted to do. And she did the local teacher route. She was an actual teacher in Thailand.
Yeah.
I did teach online. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then people started getting into coaching, and then people started learning, different things in that country, like, Thai massage. And then it was, it
So
just goes on
cool.
and on and
Yeah.
on, and then from one opportunity can lead to another.
Yes, I love the fact that, you don't have to be tied directly to the United States for your opportunities,
No,
right? You can continue to find new people, essentially new communities, and it just breeds opportunity. I love that.
it does.
Yeah.
And, there are other people that were doing creative things, painting, singing, comedy shows. I mean, it went on and on. And I was just like, wow, I'm in Thailand watching this big black man do poetry. You know what I mean? At a little kind of speakeasy that
Right.
was created for expats and locals to get together.
Yeah.
I never knew.
And I've seen it too. I've seen people pick up new skills along the
Yes,
way. I think that's part
absolutely.
of the journey as well. If you're a photographer amateur wise, you can come out and be a professional photographer. You can kind of reinvent yourself.
Tulum made a lot of photographers
Yeah.
very much well known.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've definitely seen that. Okay. So you have really been thriving abroad, right? Currently living in Playa. How does your family feel about this all today? I know they weren't very supportive in the beginning. Have they come around, family and friends?
I think that when again fear sets in, it's like, how dare you and why would you do that? But no, it hasn't been a situation where family has been necessarily the most supportive.
Yeah.
I will say that my son lives with his friends down here in Mexico.
Really? That's
And
so
yeah,
cool.
he gave me a call one day and was
Yeah.
like, I think I'm ready to come
Yeah.
abroad. And
Yeah.
I said, well, come on. So my son has made a life here for the last 2 years.
That's amazing.
And yeah, my daughter's like, nah.
I think it takes a little bit of people getting a taste of it. So I always tell friends to just come down and visit, right? If you're missing me, if you think, what I'm doing isn't, not fully supportive, then, stay where you're at. But if
Yeah.
you're interested, just come down, take a trip, and go back and see what you think.
But I think the thing about it is, again, people were so concerned with how our families think and, how it impacts others. And,
Yeah.
oh, what about my aging parent? What about my aunt? What about my grandparent? And it's like, the only thing in this world that's finite is our death. If you can't live your life because you're so focused on everybody
Yeah.
else's, you're going to miss out.
Yeah. It's not your life.
And if COVID didn't teach anybody anything, it could be taken up in a
Yeah.
blink of an eye,
Yeah.
in ways that you never knew. You know what I mean? So this is the time. This is the time to restructure things. We have the gentle parent movement, right?
Hmm.
We have the nomad, movement, exit
Yeah.
movement. There's no more status quo to life. It's get out and live it the way you want. We got the tiny home movement,
Hmm.
the people living out of their cars, some of them because they got,
Yeah,
laid off.
RVs, RVing,
RV
and
car.
moving around, and the digital nomad, aspect of like, hey, you can work remotely from anywhere.
Changed the
I
game.
think a lot of people still haven't woken up to that idea of like, if you're working in your living room, you can technically, with permission, maybe without, work in Mexico, work in Thailand, get out and
Yeah.
see the world, take some risks,
Well, the
and
countries are coming out with visas
they
specifically for
are,
digital nomads.
yeah,
So, whatever, if you are interested in working abroad, it is illegal to come into a country and work without the proper visas or
it is,
permissions. But it's nice to look into, right? Does this country offer a visa for, digital nomads,
yeah,
this, that, and the other? Because a lot of countries do.
yeah,
And, it's amazing to see what has grown in these last 5 years in the travel space around families, around people of color, around women of color, around, LGBT. It's just been amazing to see the growth because you didn't see
it's
it before.
Yeah. I know you're in the process of scaling, leveling up your businesses, multiple businesses. Where do you see Black in Tulum and Black in Travel? Like, where do you want to take it?
So I'm retiring Black in Tulum in 5 years, and we just celebrated 3, so I have 2 more years,
Okay.
and I plan on retiring or stepping down. because I feel like I would have did my time.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's time to let something go when, you feel like I've done all I can do for you, baby. Like, my baby is done. So I'm using Black and Tulum as that stepping stone to open up doors for all of these other projects that I can't necessarily name
Of
right
course.
out loud,
Of
but
course.
there are some amazing things coming down the pipeline, and the
Yeah.
connections that are being made through Black and Tulum at my events, and people walking up and saying, yo, this is dope, I would love to collaborate with you, this is amazing, I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I'm in a room where I manifested saying to the universe, like, I just want to be in the right rooms, not knowing that I created some of them freaking rooms. I was
Preach.
just like, wow.
And that's wisdom right there to know, hey, I think that this is coming to an end, but you still have all these doors that you want to pursue because there's only so much time in a day to work on a
Tell me about it.
project, right? So
And get some
knowing
rest.
exactly and get some rest and live your life,
And
take
yeah.
a vacation because, just because you live abroad doesn't mean you're on vacation. So,
That,
look, I love that. And I do want to continue to follow the journey. And
thank
thank you
you.
again for just taking the time out
Thank you for having
to
me.
answer these questions with us. This has
I
been amazing.
appreciate it. And listen, keep doing what you guys are doing. And, I think it's important to have people of influence, right? Not necessarily influencers, necessarily the way we see it today, but people of influence, like, that can help inspire others, to help others say, well, if they can do it, I can also,
Yeah.
to say, oh, there is another way.
Yeah. And telling that story, we don't want to just be influencers that work for brands
Correct. That's what I meant by
and
that.
saying like, oh yeah, stay at this hotel when that hotel wasn't it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we want to really tell a story and help others. That's why we got into this. So
So thank you
I
for
hope
being people of influence. That's all I
yeah,
want to say.
I think this story will really inspire others, Nubia. We're gonna stay connected, and if we need a part two, this is a remote podcast too, so
Hey,
we may catch up with you
you can
wherever
catch
you are
me
in the
anywhere in the
world.
world.